The road to nowhere. The moon was a thin crescent in the ink-black sky, barely a sliver of light in the vast darkness that enveloped the world. Ryan Whitaker had driven this stretch of highway countless times before, but tonight, something felt different. He had heard the rumors, of course, whispers in bars, nervous glances from old-timers who would avoid the topic the second it was brought up. There was a road that went out beyond the city limits, winding up into the thick woods that people would disappear into. No one who ventured to the end of it ever came back. They said if you reached the dead end, something strange happened. People would stop, get out of their cars, and wander into the woods with empty eyes. No one knew what happened to them, but after a certain point, all the stories blended together. Disappearances, strange noises, the sound of footsteps when no one was there. Ryan didn't believe in superstition, but something gnawed at him as his headlights cast long shadows over the uneven road. It was a stretch of highway that seemed to go nowhere, a winding, desolate lane bordered by ancient trees that seemed to close in on you, swallowing the world whole. But there was no going back once you reached the end. Ryan's phone buzzed on the passenger seat, messages from his brother about something trivial, but Ryan didn't reply. He couldn't. His mind was elsewhere. He was drawn to the road ahead. The rumors weren't the reason he was here tonight, though. Ryan was an investigator by profession, and a few weeks ago, a local sheriff had reached out to him. There had been another disappearance on the road. A man named Eric Holloway, last seen just outside of town. Ryan's curiosity had taken hold of him, and now he was here. The car jerked slightly as the tires hit a pothole, and Ryan frowned. The air grew colder, even though it was the middle of summer. The trees loomed like silent sentinels. There it was, the end of the road. No signs, no markings, just the eerie line where the pavement stopped and the forest swallowed the world. Ryan slowed to a stop, his headlights piercing the dark. He took a breath. There was no turning back now. Before he could get out of the car, he saw him, someone walking into the woods. A man, shuffling, his head down, his arms hanging limply at his sides. His face was pale, his eyes wide but glazed, as if in a trance. Ryan's heart skipped a beat. There was something wrong with him. "Hey," Ryan called, throwing open the door of his car. The man didn't respond, his footsteps dragging against the dirt path as he moved deeper into the woods. Ryan's instincts kicked in. He rushed after him, but the man was already beyond the reach of the headlights. The air grew thicker, heavier, as if the woods themselves were pressing in on him. A chill crept down his spine, and the sound of his footsteps seemed to grow louder in the quiet. The deeper he ventured, the more unsettling the forest became. The trees seemed to bend toward him, their branches twisting like fingers, reaching for him. Shadows moved in the corners of his vision. His breath quickened. He should turn back, he knew that. But the man was ahead. His footsteps were still audible, dragging on the earth. Then Ryan froze. At first he thought it was the wind, but the ground was shifting. His boots sunk into the earth like it was soft, wet clay. He stumbled back, and that's when he saw it. The man, still dazed, was standing in a small clearing. His arms were raised, his mouth open in a silent scream. But what caught Ryan's attention wasn't the man. It was what was happening around him. The earth beneath the man began to churn. The ground itself was moving, as if something beneath was pushing through. Ryan watched in horror as the soil parted, like a wound opening. And then it happened. Both the man and the ground seemed to rip apart at the same time. The man's body contorted, his limbs jerking unnaturally, as though they were being torn from his soul. Ryan felt a sickening tug in his chest, like something was pulling at him. The man's eyes met his, empty, soulless, and then, with a sickening crack, the body collapsed, the soul visibly ripped away from it, disappearing into the ground like a vacuum pulling at his very being. The earth swallowed him whole, leaving nothing but the empty air and the oppressive silence that followed. Ryan's heart hammered in his chest as he stumbled backward, horrified, unable to move. He had to get out of there. This place, this road, it wasn't just a stretch of highway. It was something far worse, something alive. He turned, running with all the strength he had, but the ground beneath him seemed to give way. The shadows were closing in, and the trees around him were alive, shifting, whispering his name. The road to nowhere was never meant to be a road at all. It was a trap, a way to lure you in, to feed on your soul. As Ryan ran, he could feel it. Something was hunting him. It wasn't just the trees. It wasn't just the woods. It was the ground beneath his feet, the earth that wanted him, just like the others. The road led to nowhere, and it was waiting for him to step off, waiting to take his soul too.